The question I ask people is, what are you listening to? What are you thinking today? Let me rephrase it. In the old days when like in high school, music was really, really so critical. So it was my absolute obsession. I had to have the latest album. I had to have the latest. I had to know who was playing what. And all we had was the radio. We go into radios. We listen to maybe obscure, not obscure, but before even community radio, we listen to like special stations, and I'd get downbeat, and to really find out what was avant-garde or what was different, you really had to go know where to go. There was no radio for this. There was no Spotify. There was no nothing. And surprisingly, we did okay, and it was a quest. So the thing we always ask ourselves, friends would say, "What are you listening to? What are you listening to? Tell me what I should know. Tell me what's important in the world of music to you." And somebody might say, I remember somebody turned me on to Brian Auger years ago, who was terrific, Oblivion Express or whatever that was, and maybe my friend was into Jethro Tull, and he, fine, okay. So now I ask you, well, what are you thinking today? What's your focus today? What are you thinking today? Are you letting Jesse Waters determine what you're thinking? Do you let people provide for you the set list of what you're thinking? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? How are you thinking? What is it that you're... And today, I started off in a different realm, because this usual stuff is boring. And being bored is my greatest attribute ever. The fact that things bore me, that I get bored, because the usual stuff just is, it's not important. It's been done to death, and frankly, it doesn't even matter. So what's important? Well, the first thing I've been thinking about is this notion of definitions. I love definitions. I love definitions more than you can imagine. And I'm going to be doing something tomorrow. It's going to be coming out. I hope you're subscribed to the newsletter. I hope you're subscribe to the newsletter, because it's critical. It's critical. And I'm going to do one. In fact, if you go to the description section, it's there. But it's going to be this notion of how America loves racism. It is our national sport. It defines who we are. We love racism. We talk about it. We thrive on it. It's just incredible. I talk about that. By the way, that's coming out tomorrow, so make sure you sign up for it today. Then I was talking about some other things too, which are interesting, and that is the notion of the death of liberalism. As you know, liberalism died a borning. I don't think liberalism ever really took off. I think we talked about it historically, but I don't think it took off. I don't think it was that critical. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about how to destroy a democracy. Erica Benner is this new philosopher of sorts into historicity and the philosophy of history, and it's just so interesting. So I'm into that today. That's what I'm thinking today, and I want to share this with you. And I also want to share with you the idea that I am not 100% pleased with everything the president is doing, but I am 100% behind him and in favor of everything that he's doing. But I wish he would be doing things differently. And the two can exist concomitantly. Okay? So think about that carefully. Make sure you're subscribed to Lionel Nation. And before we begin, I've talked to you before about emergency food. I've talked to you about emergencies. It has nothing to do with the enemy or the deep state or anything like that. It might just be something as simple as a storm and how you must be prepared. So listen, let me ask you a question. What happens when the trucks stop? Think about this. Trucks, the trucks that bring your food. And then when one store closes because of a riot or ransomware hit or a hurricane or even manufactured weather. Oh, yeah, we've talked about that. What happens when all of a sudden, suddenly, the entire supply chain collapses like dominoes? What happens then? We've seen it happen, and it doesn't take much. And that's the thing you've got to think about. A trucker strike, a cyber attack, some EMP, some Carrington class disaster, a city shut down by violence. It only takes one spark for shelves to go empty fast. And when that happens, and when that moment hits, you either have what you need or you don't. And that's why I am telling you, I want you to go to preparewithlionel.com. Our trusted friends at My Patriot Supply, they're offering unbelievable deals right now. You've got to see deals on emergency food kits that could save your life and your sanity. Over 2,000 calories per day for 3 months of food per person, shelf stable for 25 years in any kind of combinations you want, and made to taste like actual meals, not cardboard, not some military MRE. These kits aren't just insurance, they're peace of mind. So go to preparewithlionel.com, secure your kit, secure your future. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com, because when the world breaks down, the prepared don't panic. Now, my friends, I want to make sure you are subscribed to my newsletter. We had a little bit of a problem before for reasons that are hard to explain, but I think we've got them pretty much under control. Here is that link. Here is that link. Please, I ask you to subscribe to it. I've got one coming out tomorrow. I did one the other day on why Indian kids in particular, are doing better, why they are doing better at spelling. I love talking about things that you're not supposed to talk about. And one of the things which people do not want you to talk about, apparently, is the idea that sometimes certain races and ethnicities and genders do things differently and perhaps even better, depending upon who you are and where you're from. This is what people hate, and I love this. So make sure you are subscribing to this. I'll make sure we have it. I'll put it right here. Here is, I will pin this accordingly. Well, I will pin this. And you can, there we go. There it is. You can watch that. Alrighty, and yes, replace this. Good, there it is. So it's pinned, and you can watch at your leisure, if you so care. Remember, the president is at about 9% of his term. I'll just round it off. 9% of his term. 9%. 9%. Everything else everything that we're talking about is a waste of time. Unless you put into perspective, he just started. 9%. 9%. And we're getting very upset with there has to be, something tells me intuitively that we will be seeing an arrest of somebody big. Hillary Clinton has to be arrested, or Bill Clinton, or somebody. You have to shake the world. You have to do something to fight back. Nobody believes the president is that powerful, that strong, that anything. They don't believe him. They're not paying attention. They're not paying attention to President Trump. They're not afraid of him. We have to make him afraid. Have to make them afraid, which is very, very simple. Remember something. When you talk to your friends and what you talk about and what you find interesting, which is the second point of today's, it's not necessarily what Fox News or Breitbart or the New York Post or the Gateway Pundit tells you. It's what you talk to your friends about. It's what you talk to your friends about. Not whether you think tariffs are important, but do you talk about tariffs? The answer is no. You don't talk when you meet. What is it that you talk about? Tariffs is not one of those subjects. You talk about general things that affect you deliberately, things that affect you greatly, things that affect your way of thinking, your way of believing, your way of everything. This is what's so critical. Can't explain it enough. You have to be put into the position when you talk to people to find subjects that really affect them. Remember that 78% of people have no idea or clue. 10% sort of do, maybe, but there's about 10 to 12% who really know what's going on in the world. And that's the one I'm trying to get to. Most people do not. And it's not because they're bad people, it's the fact that they just don't want to hear what you're talking about. The level of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, that is still here is beyond anything anybody can really understand. It has become the version of liberalism. Liberalism to most people is this idea that Donald Trump is a bad guy, and that's it. They don't really know what this thing is. Liberalism, whatever you want to call it, it died aborning. Aborning is an old term that means like while it's being born or before it got the chance to grow. Liberalism died aborning. It was destroyed and smothered and killed, not by tyranny, but by its own naivete or naivete, its own delusions. They come across this idea that there is this noble quest for tolerance. So what does it do? In its quest for noble tolerance, it tolerated intolerance. They're the most intolerant people you've ever met. While preaching openness and all of that, it allowed truth to be kind of deconstructed into personal narratives. Your version, you get to tell the truth. The truth is through your prism. Is that the way it is? You don't define reality. You don't define history, but that's what they do. The institutions, the colleges, that's once proud defenders of liberty. This is where liberals used to stand up for free speech. Now they've become paralyzed by guilt and fear and jargon, and led by a group of people who really have no business doing what they're doing. And elites, so-called elites, co-opted, stole the language, destroyed it. And it masks its own kind of authoritarian aims. The liberal today is the worst totalitarian menace there is. It's incredible. What began as enlightenment ended in confusion. The center didn't hold. It collapsed and still does under the weight of its contradictions. There is no liberalism. Liberalism wasn't defeated from without. It committed a slow, kind of a polite suicide while insisting it was evolving, and it wasn't. And that's what's the most important part. We need to talk about this. It's not just about Trump. This is from now on. You also have to recognize the fact that Joe Biden is not a liberal. Hillary Clinton is not a liberal. AOC, they're not liberals. They are not liberals. They don't exist. Liberalism does not exist from what it was. And if you go back and you look at some of the greatest political philosophers and others, they will tell you this. This is what you have to grasp and really understand and put this into perspective. Liberalism does not exist. It does not exist today. So it's the wrong term. Woke probably maybe makes the most sense. It doesn't even have that. I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine the worst BLM riot. Think for yourself. Think back. Your worst BLM riot. What was it? The fires, the disasters, the all of this just horrible, horrible, horrible garbage that was going on. Okay, remember that? Remember that? Okay, good. Now, ask yourself this question. What were they? What were they? Were those black rioters? Many of them were, but not all. But were they black rioters? Were they BLM members? Were they Democrats? Were they what were they? What were they? What? Tell me what they were. What were they? Tell me. Anarchists? If you ask them, what are you doing? Were they protesting the treachery of what? What were they? They were rioters. They were looters. They were criminals who jumped into something that the radical left said, oh, there's a reason for this. No, there's no reason for this. They gave them some kind of I don't know what the word is. They were absolutely, positively, 100%. They were criminals and thugs and thieves and looters and rioters and boosters. And they were the worst people you could possibly imagine. But they merged just as criminals. There might have been somebody who said, well, the reason for that, I said, no, I'm just a criminal. I'm here because this liquor store I'm able to go in, and everybody else is doing it. And as you know, during auto loot, this weird thing that we do whenever there's a complete destruction of order, I am involved in it. This is auto loot. That's what we're doing right now. It's auto loot. It's this, whatever this world is. But what you have to understand, what you have to grasp and really, really, really understand is that I am here to steal stuff. And you can call me anything you want. You can call me a black activist or a white activist or a radicalized. I'm here to steal. I'm a thief. You can attribute whatever you want to it. I'm a thief. That's what they are. I have a friend of mine, a woman who, very smart, is there just to hate Trump. And and right now she is like the looter who's breaking into the liquor store. She exists to hate Trump. Hating Trump, being a part of hating Trump is what is so critical. That's all she wants to do, is to hate Trump. That's it. She's not a liberal. She's not a progressive. She's nothing. So remember, understand these labels. There are people who honest to God, do not believe in transgenderism. They really don't believe. There is nobody alive today, nobody who says there is no such thing between a man and a woman. I think politically, maybe the way you identify yourself, but understand, these are the people who are out there and they're claiming to be something, but they're not. They are not. Now, how do they do this? I mentioned there's this piece, and this is kind of a reversion. It's called Erica Benner, Benner. She writes these wonderful pieces. One is called Adventures in Democracy, and I wanted to give you this. Now, I like what she has to say. And whether she intends for me to interpret this way, I don't know. But you see, there are sometimes we do these things, sometimes especially those of us in our particular ideology, where we use terms that are not really correct. For example, we will confuse Machiavelli with Nietzsche and Occam's razor with Hickham's dictum, and we think we know these terms. We'll say communist, socialist, Marxist, radical left, woke. We don't know what the terms are. These are merely shorthand terms. And Machiavelli, for example, is not what people think. They always look to him as an example of some kind of like Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is another one of these people. That people love Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is intellectually bereft of anything, but people like to say they believe in Ayn Rand. They like to say, years ago, you had to carry around a copy of The Economist. You had to read the New York Times. In order for you to establish your bona fides, you had to say who you believe in. Even now, there are subgroups of our folks. There are people who believe in how do I say this? They believe in different iterations of stuff. They believe in just a whole host of things. For example, they will believe in, we have the faux conservative. There was a guy, I won't mention his name. If I mention his name, you would know his name, and I don't want to because he doesn't even know what he's saying. But he said, I am a Zionist. And he said this, and I said, I want you to understand something here. I want you to be very careful when you say that, because there are some people that take that not the wrong way, who take it differently than what you might think. Just remember that. Be very careful when you say that, because in his world, he thought, well, obviously this is, a good thing. And this is, well, yes, but understand what that term means. And even though you are not Jewish yourself, or you're Israeli, are you eschatological? Are you a Christian Zionist? A Zionist, rather? Do you understand it? Anyway, these terms mean a lot, but we won't use them correctly because we like and believe in what these things tend to suggest and produce, if that makes any sense to you. Okay, just a thought of that. So what these folks have done is, and what this Benner did, which I like, is she took there's 6 steps to destroy 6 steps to destroy democracy. And by the way, we're not a democracy. We're, of course, a republic, but whatever. And the first thing is target vulnerable groups. Authoritarians always begin their thing by dividing the population. Let's go after immigrants, illegals, minorities, sexually diverse, transgender, and label them in somehow as some form of a threat, or some type of I don't know what the word is, but that they are being threatened, or they are a threat, but target them, paint them as the enemies of real people, leaders rally around them. And it works both ways, by the way. The left can do this, the right can do it, but focus on patriots versus outsiders, or how the outsiders are really the new Americans fighting for recognition. You see what I'm saying? Fighting for whatever it is. Okay, you got this one? You got this? This is critical. This is important. So the first thing is you target groups. You have to, this is identitarian, and it goes both ways. Next, rig the election system. Elections are manipulated to ensure that opposition voices are permanently marginalized, shut up, shelved, killed, whatever it is. Tactics include gerrymandering, redrawing district lines, which is what one would say replacement theory and all of these folks are in for. Voter suppression, restricting access, or opening it up to everybody. We don't need IDs. That's racist. See what I'm saying? Or using IDs law. But the point is, both sides recognize the electoral system has to be rigged, and make sure that you have polling place closures, or make sure that you also shut up and kill anybody who dares to suggest that an election was fixed. Critical. Call it voter or election denial. Call it denial. And this is great. Give it a name. You're an election denier. You're denying science. See what you're doing? You're denying. Okay, see what you're doing? This is worse than anything anybody could ever imagine. Okay, but you're denying science. All right, okay, fine. Oh, I got it. You got how that works? You got how this thing works? Good. It's important. Next, co-opt and overwhelm the media. Independent journalism is not banned outright. Remember, we're part of the conspiratorium. We were shut down by the left, by the right. We've been hit. During 9/11, it was the Bush administration that came after us. How dare you question the official narrative of 9/11? And now we have people shutting us down because of, our thoughts on, vaccines or what have you. Do you follow what's happening? Good. It's critical. Independent journalism is not banned outright, but it's drowned or it's controlled. Loyalists on either side buy up media outlets. Whoever owns the media own everything. That's why there was such a critical fight on the part of platforms to see who gets to say what. Social media are flooded with influencers, so-called trolls, bots, sponsored content, anything that mimics news but serves the regime's interest. That's what's important. Algorithms are used to either amplify outrage or disinformation or to shut down voices, to create confusion, to limit speech, to shut down, to silence, to can, to close. You got it? It's important. Absolutely important. You have to do this. Next, you got to rewrite history and control education. Control what children mean. Both sides do this. The right wants to have charter schools. The left, well, you know what the left wants to do. Whoever gets to the kids controls the future. Authoritarians push for sanitized, nationalistic versions of history. We don't like people confusing this. Controversial truths are erased. Past injustices are downplayed. Critical thinking is discouraged. We don't like that. The goal is to raise a generation and generations who don't question authority, who are just kind of zombified, who are afraid of asking questions, who are quiet. Maybe we can use perhaps pharmaceuticals and the like to slow down their curiosity, to dampen their affect. Next, we want to stack the courts with loyalists. The judicial branch is meant to act under this new, either way, as a safeguard, but it too can be corrupted. Judges who value rule of law are removed or sidelined. In their place, the regime appoints both sides loyal ideologues. The Heritage Foundation, the Federalist Society has theirs. The left has theirs. It goes for both ways. People who rule in favor of executive power are fine, but you don't want them to be expressive, unpredictable interpreters of the Constitution. Once the courts are compromised, constitutional protections collapse. And then finally, this is critical. The regime, either way, claims divine some kind of endorsement. This is probably more of the right because the left doesn't acknowledge any form of religion or what have you. Policies are always seen and portrayed as some kind of as politically necessary, but obtained. Dissent is reframed as evil, and the movement, either one is cast as a holy crusade. This is more right wing because the left haven't seized on that yet. You see, we believe that we are agents of God. We are Christian. Don't kid yourself. We say Judeo-Christian. This is Christian. of the right of this. They are Christian, they are Baptist, even Catholics. This is Protestant Christian 100%. CPAC and others will emphasize this. The right and the left, the symbols are, oh my God, the symbols are so beautiful. The symbols. You go no further than the symbols of this. This is what's important. The symbols of the right include the flag, family, God, military, Washington, history, while the left is the peace sign and abortion and trans and purple hairs and studs in the nose and tattoos and BLM and George Floyd and Antifa. You see how that works? This is something. Symbology is the most important and critical thing there is. It is critical. Raul, by the way, Raul says, it seems it's a battle of fake news. Yes, it is, my friend, but who determines what is fake and what is not? Deb Kemp says, thank you, Lionel. I'm still here, but don't catch you live. Deb, welcome, dear friend. And Mrs. Stacy Sullivan says, top of the morning, buy half a cup of coffee, thanks. Thank you so much, the lovely and talented Mrs. Stacy Sullivan. I like that. This is exactly what's going on right now. This is exactly. You've got to understand it. Recognize this. Don't fight it. It's not one person's right or wrong. It's the way it is. And it's something which is so fascinating. I love this. And the thing which is also important is that as soon as you recognize that religion is psychology, religion is not about fact. Excuse me. Well, maybe to an extent, I meant to say politics, but religion is a different story. Religion, I don't want to get into because people get offended, but once you understand how religion works, oh man, it is. Try the difference between mythology, superstition, and religion. Everybody throughout history, we all look at mythology and I was, well, that was kind of crazy. Then there was pagan. Wow, that was kind of crazy. And then there was witchcraft. Oh, that's really crazy. And then this, but our current form, oh, no. Now we finally settled in. Jesus, God, Allah, Judaism, whatever, got it. This is it. We finally hit it. Everything else before was crazy. It's not crazy now. And of course, it's legitimate and we're legitimate and it's all good. Religion is absolutely the most critical thing in the world. I am fascinated by it. You don't understand. By the devoutness. Look what's going on in the Middle East. You think it's about religion? Absolutely not. Nothing. Nothing to do with religion. That's theoretically. It's the same thing as a team. What's a team? The Yankees or the Red Sox. Man U versus Arsenal. What's the difference? I don't know. It's we just pick demarcations, and that is it. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because when you understand how this thing works, when you understand it, it will change the way you think. It will change the way you absolutely think. Right now, as I was saying, which is very important, people are always talking about financial. There's all talks about a lot of stuff that's out there. Elon, this and that. But what you have to really understand is that as great and as wonderful and as terrific and as bright as the future looks, there's a lot of people out there really, really scared about finances and what they're going to do because they are up to their neck in debt. And what do? This. Are you drowning in debt, struggling with credit cards or medical bills or personal loans? Well, you're not alone. There's help, real help available right now. National Debt Relief is one of the top-rated debt relief companies in America, helping thousands of individuals like you break free from overwhelming financial burdens. For anyone owing over $10,000, National Debt Relief may be able to reduce that debt by up to half or even more. No bankruptcy, no new loans, just a smarter, faster way to financial freedom. Here's how it works. Step 1, you submit the form at No Debt with Lionel. Just go there right now. Step 2, A representative will call within minutes to discuss personalized options. In step 3, they'll create an affordable plan tailored to your individual budget and timeline. Many clients become debt-free in as little as 24 to 48 months, paying less than they owe and avoiding years of stress and interest. And the consultation is completely free with no obligation. So what are you waiting for? Why keep dodging calls and watching interest stack up? So go right now to NoDebtWithLionel.com. That's NoDebtWithLionel.com. This could be the turning point, the step toward peace of mind, control, and a fresh start. NoDebtWithLionel.com. Go now. Whenever I talk about this, people sometimes get upset. They get upset because they don't like me saying, well, here's really what's happening. Here's really what's happening. Here's really, but to me, how can you not want to know what's really happening? They find it problematic, and I understand it to an extent. And it's one of those things where, well, you know, but the bottom line is simply this. Unfortunately, dear friends, it comes down to simply this. This is reality. This is reality. My latest movement, and of course, I always find, as you see, there is a recurring theme in my piece. The absolute contempt that I have for conservative or for any kind of political talk. And what they will tell you is this. They might say to you, listen, you're right about what you're saying. You're right about this. But we will only do that which is important and that which works in terms of numbers. For example, why do you think people have such a hard time understanding what's wrong with Diddy? Why can't people understand what that case is about? Why? And people say, well, you don't understand. You see, the problem with Diddy, no, I'm sorry. But the problem, well, you see, the problem with Diddy, and I'm saying everybody should be on TV saying this, but they're not. But that's the way it is. They will say, we in the United States believe in this thing called due process. And let me ask you, geniuses, a question. What if Diddy had been charged with arson? Arson. Let's say he's charged with arson. And they put on Cassie getting beaten up and Diddy at the hotel with the Tootsie Roll and this and that. You would probably say, hey, what about the arson? Where's the fire? Right? Right? Of course you would say that. You'd say, where's the fire? What are you talking about? Where's the fire? No, where's the fire? What do you keep talking about fire? He's charged with arson. Yeah, but don't you understand he's a this or that? Well, he might be, but you charged him with arson. You got to let him go. What? You've got to let him go because you never proved arson. But he's a dirtbag. He's a pervert. That's where we are today. And that's not going to sell. I'm trying to sell my show, my whatever it is, and I can't. And those people who say, well, I don't know. I don't understand it. To me, it's so easy. It's so incredibly easy. It's obvious. But nobody wants to hear the obvious or hear this because of the fact that we have dumbed down the world to what's happening right now. When I try to explain something, I said, did you see Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham meeting with Zelensky? Do you have any idea what's happening? Good luck with that. Good luck. And that's where the left and the right have no interest whatsoever. The left and the right, remember, whenever there's a consensus on the left and right, forget it. Remember something also. Whenever somebody has something as a lapel pin, that is a sign of this subject I know nothing about. If I see the flag, I know nothing about American history. If this is about the Ukrainian flag, I know nothing about Ukrainian history. I know nothing about these people. I am told, I'm given a myth. I'm given a story, kind of a Manichaean, kind of a good, bad, and people cannot yet understand any of it. When you listen to what is happening and you step out of the realm of United States news and go to European, you won't recognize what you're saying. So how do we fix this? How do we do this? It's going to take, it's going to take a re-examination of things. And one of the things is you've got to just throw away the You've got to throw away the usual rules. Here's my question. I would love to do a play or I don't know what you want to call it, a routine where I sit down with President Trump. By the way, July 19th at the Cutting Room, be aware. The link is right there, my friends. The link is right there. Cutting Room. Do I have it? Let me see. Right here. The Cutting Room. Let me see. It's going to be better and badder than ever. Let me see here. I want to double check on something. Let's go to content. We'll go to live. We'll go here. Let me see. And it is right there. You go to the section, Lionel returns to the Cutting Room. There it is, right there, my friends, right there. Just go to the section, and everything that we talk about, it is right there, right for your perusal and review. There it is, my friends. Make sure you... Lizzie Solak showed up one time, and they're still talking about it. Some people had to have therapy. That's all I'm going to say. It happened a long time ago, and let it go. But anyway... But as I talk this, I would love to sit down with President Trump and say, sir, let's make sure we turn off all the recorders so nobody hears this. First thing I'm going to ask you is, remind me, by the way, if ever you want to cool down, calm down, this is a stone that was found that is so smooth through, I guess, years of water. It is so calming. It is so calming. There was a woman in me when I was in my jury duty, which I'm thankfully removed from. I'll tell you about that after it's done. After, I don't want to take any chance of this case even remotely come and somebody figuring out what it was. But there was a woman. You know those things where you spin them. It looks like a daisy petal. You spin them and they spin around. And you ever see that? Okay. Anyway. She had one of those. I was explaining to her, I said, this is the most calming thing. Also, the Muslim prayer beads are so calming. I don't know if it's sacrilegious to be doing it without prayers, but this is what I sometimes, as I'm thinking of things, I just rub with this particular piece. So in any event, if I sat with the president, I would say, Mr. President, I must ask you something in no particular order. Assure me, sir, that you do not believe that Epstein was committed suicide. Just assure me of that. Because if you believe that, then I'm afraid we might be on the wrong team here, and we might be, that's not a good thing. And I think the president would say, oh, no, I know that. Why did Bongino say on his, first of all, why did you pick Bongino? I don't understand that. He's going to backstab Kash Patel because he wants the glory. You've got two, well, he in particular, he's big time. You've got a lot of publicity whores here, and he is at the top of his game. He's an addict for publicity. Why did you pick him? Why? It's like when Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, there's no way that would have worked, and it didn't. So why did he say that, Mr. President? A lot of my people in the conspiratorium are saying, this doesn't make any sense. We really don't understand this. This hurts us. And now Bongino says, I've got a film? There's no film. Because why? Because you said you turned off the videotape, or the tape didn't work. Didn't work. But what are you talking about? And we just forgot about it. Why do you keep bringing this up? Pam Bondi learned her lesson. You notice how Pam Bondi is? She's like, she just said, enough with this shit. I don't know what I was thinking. And she's a good person, Pam. I'm not. But you notice how she came out at first, and we've got the binders, and DC Drano showed up in this one. Then they gave him these binders, and there was nothing. What was that about? I don't understand it. When the Daily Show is joking about the Bongino thing, and I am agreeing with the Daily Show, that's a serious thing. So you got to ask yourself, Mr. President, why did you do this? Why did you permit this? Why did you allow him to say this? Why did you do this? Doesn't make any sense. Next, Mr. President, what happened with Bobby Kennedy, who was going to be talking about autism and vaccines, and now he's talking about red dye and Fruit Loops, and you've got Marty McCary and others. That's not what we want. We wanted to see, we are seeing independent information that spike protein stuff and mRNA is wreaking absolute havoc. We don't even know the effects of what this is generations to come. People are dropping dead. People are having these aggressive, these mega cancers, these brutal, what do they call cancers? Not super cancers. There's a name for them. Brutal or whatever. What's going on here? We don't understand what's happening. Mr. President, turbo cancers. Mr. President, why have you, I know this isn't hopium, as they say. We don't want to be memory hold and all that jazz, but why have you not arrested anyone, sir? You would walk in and say, I'm going to tell you right now, within the confines and the rules of law, I've got to have somebody big arrested and put behind bars. Hillary or Fauci or whatever it is. And I mean somebody big. And if you don't do this, right away, we're going to lose some people. So tell me, you've got stuff on Hillary, because one of the reasons why the statutes of limitations aren't a problem is that you have ongoing conspiracies where it's still, the conspiracy isn't over with yet. For example, Hillary Clinton may have destroyed emails, but the conspiracy to cover things up since that particular period of time have continued, and that conspiracy is still there. Does that make any sense to you? Good. So the question is, you got to ask yourself this question: why have you not done it? You did maybe a couple of judges who were state court judges who might have helped some illegal alien either seek status or whatever. That's not what we're talking about, sir. Why are we not seeing this, sir? Why are we not seeing this? Why are you not providing for this? We don't understand this. We really do not understand how any of this is possible. And also, do you like the way? I think Pete Hegseth is acting too independently. It is not the policy of the Secretary of Defense to indicate policy. You might be able to indicate how you're going to affect policy, how you're going to be doing this, but for him to say, "Are we going to go after China next?" No. First of all, are you serious about a war with China? I don't think you want that one. I don't think you want any of that. And Mr. President, we can't allow anymore for people to forget things, forget why we're there. We still want to know who was behind the multiple assassination attempts against you. And we've seen nothing about that. We hear a story, we get involved, we get excited, and then it just goes away. We can't have that, sir. We want to find out who was responsible. And can you tell us whether, and this is the most important, can you tell us whether the people who were involved in this are still a member of our government? Who were the people who were involved in this dastardly deed, and are they still a part of this? Pilgrim says, I am a 15-year stage 4 carcinoma survivor. Good for you, sir. We need to hear more of that. People who are themselves survivors and the like. This is what we need to do with the president. This is what we really need to do. And a lot of this stuff, and remember, I think he's great. I don't want anybody but him. But I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to sit back and say, no, I'm not going to complain. The best journalist by far is Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, did you read about her NASA stuff? If you are not going on either through X or whatever it is and finding out what she is saying and other people and triangulating, you're wasting your time. Do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Turn this Fox News stuff off. I don't understand. Or cable. It is a diversion. It is a diversion that has no relevance whatsoever for anybody who is a sentient, legitimate, honest to God, focused, sincere follower of what's going on in the real world. It's that simple. I can't put it into detail, and I can't suggest any further how critical this is. Please stop doing this. Be an autodidact. Be a self-learner. Read this. Go to foreign, alternative, and civilian and citizen stuff. I'll tell you, Alex Jones has been superb lately. And throw in Breitbart, throw in the New York Post, throw in Fox News. Go ahead, throw in Gateway Pundit, and throw in Reason and others, and Global Research, and Zero Hedge, and RT, and all those. Learn about this. Find out. Throw in BBC, throw in France 24 or whatever. Get an idea. Get as many perspectives as possible to triangulate your position. And do your best to immediately learn about AI. Listen to Yudkowsky, go to Lex Friedman. Listen to what people are saying. Even Ben Goertzel, Kurzweil, Singularity. You have to do your own research. Nobody is going to bring this to you. Most people think AI is about robots. And I hope the president knows about that, because this is an existential threat like you cannot believe. And I don't use that term lightly. So anyway, our dear friend Pilgrim Media, again, continued health to you, sir. Mrs. Stacy Sullivan, Deb Kemp, Raul Rodriguez. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Cutting Room, July 19. Get your tickets. I'll be there. I meet every single one of you. Remember also, Monday through Friday, 1 to 5 a.m. on WABC, live for, put it this way, Art Bell on steroids. Sort of. A little bit of Art Bell, but a lot of me, and Mondo, and fun, and perverse recalibration of issue focus. Think about it like that. All right, you got it? Don't forget to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Her work is superb. Don't forget also to follow her at Lynn's Warriors, LYNNS_Warriors. Follow her. Follow me on Twitter, or X, I should say, at Lionel Media. Our other channel is Lionel Legal. And make sure you are subscribed here to Lionel Nation, and like this video. Like. Your likes are paramount. All right, my friends. Also, sign up for the newsletter. I've got one coming out tomorrow on race that is going to knock you know what in the dirt. All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious day. We love you. First day of June. The first day of June. Where is the time going? It's marching on and proceeding forthwith. Never lose faith. Never lose faith, but never lose discernment. Never lose the ability to critically think. Nothing wrong with that. It's not. You're not a quisling by asking why. The moment you stop asking is the moment you become subject to subjugation and control and indoctrination, and we're not going to let that happen. All right, dear friends, have a great day. Thank you so much. Remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Da.